cast of like poop, and he's just like, you just took a dump right on my desk if I do something bad. So he just be like, if I do something bad, he like, just go get the dump off my desk, and like he makes us put it on his desk. He's like, that's what you just did to me. So I mean, you do something bad, that's usually what he does.
Okay, so that was Lenore Sellers, the Gamecocks quarterback, on the interesting tactics his offensive coordinator uses for motivation. Paul Feinbaum, before I get to you, I have a gripe with Mike Greenberg on Get Up because they played the sound and they talked all about it and they dug into it, and I was trying to eat my omelet and lost the appetite, okay? I grew up in a house with all women, and we don't talk about those kind of things, and here we are on First Take, so I blame everybody. But I'm going to transition it here. Paul, great to have you back with us. Canty, what is the strangest motivation tactic you've ever experienced? Hopefully not like that being dropped on your desk.
No, nothing like that. Tom Coughlin was on the opposite end of the spectrum. So before Super Bowl 46, he came into the team meeting room and he played the Kenny Chesney song, The Boys Will Fall, and he had the highlight reel playing on the projector of all of us as little kids, videos and pictures of us playing football. And there wasn't a dry eye in the house. Yes, NFL players can get a little bit misty, but we did that the night before we went out and took care of business in Indianapolis against Tom Brady's Patriots. Ended up winning Super Bowl 46, having a parade in New York City with 3 million people, and holding up that Lombardi trophy.
I love that, Paul, taking it back to their childhood dreams. You might have even shed a tear in that moment.
Mine's not quite as exciting.
Tell me, Paul.
But it does involve a former New York Giants coach. Bear Bryant retired and then died, and he was replaced by Ray Perkins, who left, can you believe this, the New York Giants to go to the University of Alabama. And it was my first year as a columnist, Molly. So I was just knocking this guy big time. And he gave an interview. Somebody was asked, what do you make of this new columnist? And he said, let me tell you something. He said, we had guys that drove the trucks in New York City, delivering the tabloids, who was more who was tougher on us than this guy. This guy doesn't bother me at all. And I said, you know what? We'll see about that. Ultimately, he fled Alabama because he could not handle the heat, and he went to the Tampa Bay Bucks, Chris, where he was a complete disaster. And unfortunately, he's gone now. He's not here to respond. But he made me a great columnist, and my dream was always to be at the New York Post and blasting guys like Canty and the Jets.
You love his aspirations?
Love it.
Blasting
Love
guys
it.
like you. I'm sorry that I stepped on you there, Paul, but we had some footage of young Paul Feinbaum.
Oh, yeah.
It was very cute to see. And I love also that Paul, in his first year as a rookie, he's already going after people.
Yeah.
No prisoners.
Well, that's what makes Paul Paul,
Yeah,
right?
Paul, yeah.
Exactly.
Equal opportunist.
If he did anything else, if he actually wrote something positive, we wouldn't know what to do with ourselves.
100%.
Yeah.
All right, let's dive into college football, guys. Taking a look now at the top 10 of the AP poll, which sees Texas at number 1, along with Penn State at 2, and the defending national champions Ohio State at 3, while Alabama, sits at number 8. Okay, Paul, is Alabama the team in this top 10 that you believe has the most to prove this season?
They absolutely do, because we're so used to them being at the top under Nick Saban. And Kalen DeBoer last year, he had an okay first season, okay for maybe Washington where it used to be, but 3 different times he was a double-digit favorite on the road or at a neutral site game and lost. And that is unacceptable. Stephen A. Smith, you may have heard of him.
Yep.
He called him soft the other day. And a lot of people in Alabama are not exactly fighting back on that accusation. So he has to win this year. He has to get to the playoff. We always looked at Saban as somebody that had to get to the national championship game where the season was going to be a disaster. But if Kalen DeBoer does not take this team to the playoff, the season will be a disaster.
Yeah, I see it differently from Paul. I got to go with LSU, Brian Kelly. Listen, I understand this is the banner hire for Scott Woodward, the AD down there at LSU, and he's made a lot of great hires when it comes to his coaches. But at some point, Brian Kelly, one of the highest paid coaches in college football, has got to show up. Having ugly opening weekend losses, having situations where you're not competing for conference championships, having situations where you're not in the college football playoffs is an absolute embarrassment. It's below the standard. And oh, by the way, his 3 predecessors, Ed Ogeron, Les Miles, and Nick Saban, they all won natties down there in Baton Rouge, and they did it within the first 4 years. So that means Brian Kelly is on deck. Now, Paul, I know you're going to come at me. I know you're going to say that he's got a crazy buyout and it's a situation where they can't get rid of him. And I'm not saying that they will, but there's a lot of pressure on the Bayou Bengals this upcoming season. They had 13 $13 million in the transfer portal in player costs, estimated $26 million in NIL. It's time for LSU to do something. They've got Garrett Nussmeier, a guy that could be the #1 pick in the NFL draft at quarterback. It's time, LSU.
I think he agreed with you on one point. Paul?
Chris, I was so motivated by your Giant story. I'm actually going to help your argument here. Not only that, Brian Kelly was at Notre Dame. He wasn't just some small college in the middle of nowhere. And when he said why he was leaving Notre Dame, he said, I'm going somewhere where I can win a national championship. Help me out here, but Notre Dame played for a national championship last year while Brian Kelly was sitting at some unknown bowl game in the middle of nowhere, trying to get his 9th win. Chris, excellent point. I'm gonna send you a Starbucks free coffee for that encounter there.
I like you two together.
Yeah.
I do. Absolutely.
It's
Paul?
pumpkin spice latte season. Let's go.
Oh, are you a pumpkin spice guy?
Yeah, it's never too early.
Oh, from the physically unable to perform list, which allows him to participate in practice. Head coach Dan Quinn had a strong response when asked about what he expects to see with McLaurin on the field.
I'm not going to play Where's Waldo, guys, all right, moving forward. So just so we're clear on that. So Terry's return to play format is no different than any of the other players. He's healthy, which is now a good step to like getting closer to being back on the field. So you'll see that earlier than later. I don't have a date circled on my whiteboard in my office.
We're not playing Where's Waldo, and we all remember that, not dating ourselves. Is his response, Dan Quinn there, is that something or nothing? Because I felt a little hostility, but maybe it's towards the media just asking the same question repeatedly.
Yeah, you get tired of it. It wears on you. And Dan Quinn is trying to get his football team ready for the start of the regular season. So I completely get where he's coming from. That said, I do expect that Terry McLaurin should be there, but if he's not, you are talking about a situation where you're worried about regression from Jaden Daniels, right? With Terry McLaurin, the Washington Commanders are an absolute contender, not only to win the NFC East, but to potentially win the conference and go to the Super Bowl. That's how talented Jaden Daniels is. But without Terry McLaurin, without that explosive element in the vertical passing game, without the guy that leads the NFL in tight window catches over the last half decade, it makes it hard to do. If you look back on all of the one-score wins that the Commanders had last year, they had 9 of them, including a couple of games where Terry McLaurin won it on the last play on throwing catches from Jaden Daniels. If you don't have that in your offense, I struggle to think what the Washington Commanders will be in terms of that unit being as dominant as we saw in his rookie year for Jaden Daniels.
Mina, did you feel like it was something or nothing, what you just heard there?
I think he is frustrated because of exactly what Chris said, which is they know how important he is to this team, how necessary he is. Last year, guys, on throws over 10 yards, nearly 40% of Jaden Daniels' targets were to Terry McLaurin. If you take him from this receiver group, it is extremely thin. Deebo Samuel, we saw him on the jet sweep in the preseason game. Fantastic underneath. Can't wait to see him as part of a screen game. None of that works if defenses don't have to respect Jaden Daniels' ability to push the ball downfield. They're going to creep up close to the line of scrimmage, stuff the run, stuff Deebo. It all falls apart for me, quite frankly. Better defenses, not the Bengals defense that we saw in the preseason. I think what's tricky, though, sorry, Bengals fans, I promise I'll stop. What's tricky for Washington, though, is if McLaurin, and it's been reported, truly wants to get paid per annum more than DK Metcalf, that is an overpay, right? You're putting him in the same average per year as the likes of CeeDee Lamb, Justin Jefferson, etc. Jamar Chase, that's who's above there. Terry McLaurin is significantly older than those players. You can understand why there's some hesitation on the part of Washington to give him that kind of contract. But he has a lot of leverage in my mind because of how this team is built, and I do not blame him for using it to try to get that money.
And I think that kind of encapsulates why Dan Quinn is so frustrated, because Dan Quinn came in last year charged with a rookie quarterback having to rebuild a culture with this football team, new ownership, all of that. And they exceeded. We knew Jaden would be good, but they exceeded expectations. Now it's like you get to the NFC title game, a year into the Jaden Daniels experience, you're going to be a lot better. Oh, wait, and now your #1 receiver isn't here. Dan Quinn understands the pressure that's on him.
Yeah,
and
it's
Terry.
in sophomore slump. They have tape on you, and now McLaurin missing a significant amount of time. It's concerning. I understand the frustration. I got to leave it there. I know you want to say something. I'm sorry. Coming up, Micah Parsons and Trey Hendrickson are both looking for new deals. So which defensive star is more likely to stay with their current team? And we got the best in the world on First Take. CM Punk will join the show. You don't want to miss what he has to say about Seth Rollins' comments from earlier this morning.